Steven Seagal versus Mike Tyson. Few things are as enjoyable and adrenalizing as martial arts or action films, whatever make and model. Sometimes, plot is necessary for stringing together cool fights. Sometimes, it's as much of a pleasure as the cool fights. There's nothing wrong with coasting along in anticipation of the next round of beatings, but the best martial arts movies each fall under the second category, where story and suspense meet sterling choreography. But what if some of those fighters you have seen on the big screen were up against each other for real? In this video, we are going to take a closer look at Steven Seagal and Mike Tyson and see who we think would win in a real fight. But before we do this, remember to give us a thumbs up and a quick click on our subscribe button to get more videos like this one and support Brutal TV. Thanks! But for now, let's go back to Seagal versus Tyson. Let's start by learning a bit about Steven Seagal. Seagal was born on April 10, 1952 in Lansing, Michigan. The mysterious Seagal started his martial arts training when he was 7 years old under the guidance of karate instructor Fumio Demura. It was in the following decade in Orange County, California, that Seagal began his Aikido training under the instruction of Harry Ishizaka and later moved to Japan to further his martial arts training. It was during that time that Seagal received his first Dan endorsement. After spending many years there sharpening his skills, he achieved the ranking of a 7th Dan in the Japanese martial art Aikido before returning to America. Seagal has taught one of the most combat-competent Aikido styles in the world in the art of Aikido. He was Haruo Matsuoka's first sensei in a dojo in Japan, and later, at the beginning of Seagal's acting career, the two would be seen together on the big screen. Haruo described Seagal's style as having a reputation for being hardcore and effective on the street. When Seagal was training Haruo, his training philosophy was about making things practical for the world. Otherwise, they would be useless. Seagal taught a very practical form of Aikido, which includes swift footsteps and hand movements. He also incorporated body posture and sword cuts that were very strong and straight. It wasn't long before Seagal started his acting career, and in 1987, he began work on his first film, Above the Law. This was to be followed up by numerous action films including Under Siege and The Patriot, to name just a few. Many of Seagal's films share unique elements which have become characteristic of his body of work. His characters often have an elite affiliation with the CIA, Special Forces, or Black Ops. His fighting style was rather different from that of other on-screen martial arts dynamos such as Bruce Lee or Jean-Claude Van Damme, who were predominantly fighters from striking arts backgrounds such as karate. However, Aikido is built around using an opponent's inactivity and body weight to employ various locks, chokes, and holds that incapacitate them. In a majority of his films, he plays the roles of often seemingly benign or timid individuals. However, when the going gets rough, they reveal themselves to be deadly. His characters almost never face any significant physical threat, easily overpowering any opposition and never facing bodily harm or even temporary defeat. A notable exception can be seen in the rare villainous role he played in the 2010 film Machete. We are now at the halfway mark, so just a reminder to like this video and subscribe to Brutal TV for more top quality fighting videos. Now back to our two fighters. Next up, we have Mike Tyson, also known as Iron Mike. Tyson was born on the 30th of June 1966 in Brooklyn, New York. His early years were spent in a high-crime neighborhood where bone-crushing fights were a common occurrence. At a very young age, Tyson became a member of various street gangs, and by the age of 13, he had been arrested 38 times by the police before being sent to reform school in upstate New York. It was here in 1978 that social worker and boxing expert Bobby Stewart recognized his boxing potential. This led to Tyson being introduced to renowned trainer Cus D'Amato, who launched Tyson into boxing greatness and became his legal guardian. In his initial years, he won Junior Olympic Championship gold medals against Joe Cortez in 1981 and Kelton Brown in 1982. But his real professional break came on March 6, 1985, when he knocked out Hector Mercedes in the first round. This was the start of continued successes for Tyson. D'Amato taught Tyson a peekaboo boxing style with hands held close to his cheeks and a continuous bobbing motion in the boxing ring that made his defense almost impenetrable. At 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighing about 218 pounds, Tyson was short and stocky and lacked the classic heavyweight boxer's appearance, but his surprising quickness and aggressiveness in the ring overwhelmed most of his opponents, most of which were extremely intimidated by him. In November 1986, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history with a second-round knockout of Trevor Berbick to claim the crown of the WBC. In March 1987, he received the WBA belt after defeating James Smith, and after defeating Tony Tucker in August 1987, he was unanimously recognized by all 3 sanctioning organizations, including the IBF. However, the high point of his boxing career was his 1988 fight against the celebrated Michael Spinks, a previously unbeaten boxing guru who Tyson defeated after 91 seconds in the first round. The later years of Tyson's life, however, were thwarted with difficulties. After a spell in prison, he resumed boxing with easy victories over Frank Bruno and Bruce Sheldon. But when it came to a fight with Evander Holyfield, Tyson lost for the second time in his career. In a rematch against Holyfield, he was disqualified after he twice bit his opponent's ears. As a result, he lost his boxing license. With all that said, the question remains, who would win in a fight, Seagal or Tyson? Unlike in the 2018 movie Chinese Salesman, where it turns out to be a draw between these two actors, we believe in a real-life fight, the winner has to be Mike Tyson. Known as the baddest man on the planet, Tyson was feared for his punching power. Tyson's punching power won him several world championships and an unmatched legacy. This is because he could use it in an unpredictable manner, from any side, middle, or close range, and at any time to knock out his opponent. On top of that, Mike Tyson is not always known for following the rules, and as an ex-street fighter, he certainly knows how to handle himself. This by no means takes away the talents of Seagal when it comes to his fighting. In his heyday, he was the biggest martial arts star in Hollywood. But that doesn't mean he could fight in real life. Seagal is a legitimate 7th Dan in Aikido, a martial art that relies on joint locks and redirection of momentum. In fact, Seagal was the first American to teach Aikido in Japan. But when it comes to self-defense, Aikido is pretty worthless. According to fight analyst Jack Slack, Aikido only works if your opponent is running straight at you, something most smart fighters never do. And as UFC commentator Joe Rogan explained, Aikido would never work against a trained fighter, and Mike Tyson is definitely a trained fighter. What do you think of these two fighters, and who do you think would win? Tell us about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Brutal TV for more top fighting videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.